Washington Wizards vs. Chicago Bulls. Third quarter. The Bulls already have more points against the Wizards than they managed in total against the Pacers last Wednesday. The Bulls have a bit of a cushion as they currently lead the Wizards 121-90. The Bulls came into the contest with some extra motivation after the defeat they were dealt the last time these two teams faced off. We'll see if they're able to flip the script or if it'll just be more of the same. Wizards fans better hope the squad plays one heck of a game on Friday as the odds are decidedly against them. They are taking a road trip to face off against the Chicago Bulls at 8 p.m. Eastern Time at United Center. The Wizards are no doubt hoping to put an end to a 14-game streak of away losses. The Wizards are headed into this one after the oddsmakers set last week's over/under low at 221.5, but even that wound up being too high. They fell to the 76ers 109-103. Despite the loss, the Wizards had strong showings from Jared Butler, who went 11 for 19 en route to 26 points plus 7 assists, and Corey Kispert, who went 8 for 14 en route to 23 points plus 5 assists and 5 rebounds. What's more, Butler also racked up 3 threes, the most he's had since back in April of 2024. If you like the video, support us by subscribing. Even though they lost, the Wizards smashed the offensive glass and finished the game with 18 offensive rebounds. They easily outclassed their opponents in that department as the 76ers only pulled down 10. Meanwhile, the Bulls ended up a good deal behind the Pacers on Wednesday and lost 129-113. Chicago was down 100-76 at the end of the third quarter, which was just too much to recover from. The losing side was boosted by Zach LaVine, who went 12 for 20 en route to 31 points. His evening made it 4 games in a row in which he has scored at least 30 points. Washington's defeat dropped their record down to 6-29. As for Chicago, their loss dropped their record down to 17-20. The Wizards strolled past the Bulls in their previous matchup last Wednesday by a score of 125-107. The rematch might be a little tougher for the Wizards since the team won't have the home court advantage this time around. We'll see if the change in venue makes a difference. Odds. Chicago is a big 11.5-point favorite against Washington, according to the latest NBA odds. The line has drifted a bit towards the Bulls, as the game opened with the Bulls as a 10-point favorite. The over/under is 241.5 points. Washington has been living and dying with the three-pointer, and that game plan won't work against a Chicago defense that has been locking down opponents on the perimeter. If you like the video, support us by subscribing. On New Year's Day, the Washington Wizards blew out the Chicago Bulls despite being 6-point underdogs. That 125-107 win clearly does not impact tonight's spread, with Chicago listed as an even bigger favorite at home. My Wizards vs. Bulls predictions understand why the spread is in the double digits, but they will mostly focus on the inflated total. This total is the same as it was in this matchup on New Year's Day, with the change in home court advantage not impacting the total like it does the spread. But perhaps it should. The Washington Wizards shot an absurd 17 of 36 from beyond the arc in that game, that 47% certainly far higher than their season average of 33%. To be thorough, let's note that taking 36 threes was not a surprise, not when Washington attempts 37 per game. Role players shoot better at home. Justin Champagny hit 2 of 3, Carlton Carrington was a perfect 3 of 3, and, though perhaps not a role player, Jordan Poole went 6 of 13. That was a distinct surprise against the Chicago Bulls. Even including that game, opponents have hit just 31.8% of three-pointers against the Bulls in the last month, the lowest rate in the NBA. The Wizards should regress toward that kind of misery tonight. When they were scorching hot, that game still fell short of its total by 10 points. Chicago is not playing well enough to make up the subsequent difference and push this game toward its lofty total, not with an offensive rating ranking number 23 in the NBA in the last month. It is entirely because of the Bulls' defense that they have managed to go 7-5 outright in the last month, with unders cashing in 9 of those 12 games. Chicago's defense has been largely unrecognized, partly because its rating is just number 15 in the NBA in the last month. It excels on the perimeter, where Poole lives. He has taken 11.5 threes per game in the last month, making 40.2% of them, 4.6 per game. If the Bulls take away those open looks tonight, Poole will have little recourse, not when more than half his points come from deep. Chicago, Zach LaVine scored 33 points and the Chicago Bulls beat the Washington Wizards 138-105 on Friday night. Nikola Vucevic had 23 points and 13 rebounds, and Coby White and Jalen Smith each scored 15 points for the Bulls. Chicago got its 5th win in 7 games and even a 125-107 loss to the Wizards on January 1. LaVine had 18 points in the first half to help Chicago take control. Jordan Poole, who missed 3 straight games with a left hip contusion, returned and led the Wizards with 22 points. Jared Butler added 18 points for Washington, which dropped to an NBA worst 6-30. The Bulls spotted their guests the opening basket but took the lead for good a few possessions later. Up 68-58 at halftime, they turned the game into a rout with a 9-0 run midway through the third quarter. Takeaways. Wizards, Poole was a game-time decision but looked sharp early on. He scored the team's first 8 points but seemed to cool off as the game went on. He managed just 5 points after halftime. Bulls, Chicago didn't much miss the burst of speed they get at both ends from G.A.O. Dosunmu against the lowly Wizards but hoped to have him back during the homestand. He worked out before the game before missing his 8th straight with a calf strain. Key moment. Washington pulled to 43-41 midway through the second quarter but Chicago's Josh Giddey answered with a pair of layups to kick off a 15-4 run that pushed the lead back into double digits. It stayed there the rest of the night. Key stat. The Bulls made 9 of their 16 three-point tries in the third quarter to put the game away. Vucevic had 3 of them. The Washington Wizards saw their losing streak continue in a 138-105 defeat at the hands of the Chicago Bulls on Friday night inside the United Center. The Wizards had Jordan Poole, hip contusion, and Alex Sarr, non-COVID illness, back in the lineup, but the Bulls blitzed them in the first quarter to take a double-digit lead. While the deficit for the Wizards was only 10 points at halftime, the third quarter was when the Bulls started to run away with things. Chicago scored 41 points in the third quarter, giving the team a 27-point advantage that the Wizards had no chance of digging themselves out of in the final frame. Poole led the Wizards in scoring with 22 points while Jared Butler added 18 off the bench. For the Bulls, Zach LaVine led all scorers with 33 while Nikola Vucevic, 23 points, 13 rebounds, and Thanks for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe for daily updates.